this letter, written July 5, 1945, to the Reverend and Mrs. A.B. Hunter of 108 Pine Street, Athens, Tennessee. And I'm going to do a brief bit of editorialization since I recently was looking at and carefully cleaning graves at the Red Oak Cemetery. We laid Pa to rest among his relations and friends at Red Oak Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Except for exceptionally hot afternoon for that location, the day was ideal. We had one of the largest attendances ever at a funeral there, a beautiful service conducted by Dr. H.B. Dendy and finished with Masonic ceremony. Jess Bailey, the only man ever to serve as High Sheriff of both Madison and Buncombe, they say, conducted the Masonic rites in a splendid manner. The Glen West Funeral Home at Weaverville handled the burial and rendered us service to the last degree in every respect. It was a most complete service and with friendship and affection for the departed. Pa passed away without pain or suffering of a single day's duration, so far as any one of us knows. He had supper and conversed with the family as usual, rested on his way up the hill to his home, commented, which I have visited, or the site I have visited, commented upon weakness increasing from day to day, and the last woman to see him was the widow of Edwin White, son of Robert White, nephew of George White, and the first to see his body was little granddaughter Ramona. She ran in early in the morning to speak to Grandpa and found him sitting in his rocking chair, head thrown back as if asleep. The physician said it was undoubtedly thrombosis pectoris, a clot passing to the heart, and that death was painless. No sign of struggle or disarray of his sitting posture. Among hundreds that came were Sue Tillery, Fred Roberts, all that is left of that family, I suppose, Addie Garrison Hunter and her brother Frank, Bascom Hunter, whose headstone I saw, and his wife and son Clarence, as fine a looking young man as I've ever seen, Robert Hunter, Uncle Billy's Bob, and Mildred Hunter, daughter of Claude, deceased, and granddaughter of Billy and Ora, the Westfall Grills, I'm sure he means girls, daughters of Jim Westfall at Asheville, the Mac Buckners and his widow, Sally Tilson Beckner, Sally Willie Hunter Jones, that's Grandpa's sister, I believe, Lucille Hunter, daughters of J.B., Ned Sr., Carl and Leela, his wife, Lark, home special for the funeral from his work in the Portsmouth, Virginia Navy Yard. We all know that Lark later, at age 16, headed for cleanup in Europe and met Adelma and brought her back to America, which is another story. He was then 16 years of age. Wren Hunter Freeman and son Alan, Carl's daughter and grandson, Ramona, Lorraine, two daughters of Carl. The funeral, who was married as Lorraine Cooper and recently passed. The funeral conducted by West was complete with tent, green carpets around the grave, chairs for the family, flowers, and the funeral bill was paid before the hearse left the funeral home for the cemetery. The saddest aspect of the affair to me was that all of the big family of Uncle Billy that gathered at the brick home when you and Edith there after our marriage. Only one relic of a son and one blank granddaughter are left at the home place. Bob was nicely dressed and intelligent, but showing age beyond his years. Mildred mentioned above his bright, smart girl, trained in nursing and in music, choosing to live alone in a little one room cabin on the back of the home place, unemployed. A lot of stuff is unsaid. We gathered at Carl's after the funeral and went through Pa's letters and saw your letters, your picture, Uncle Alfred's, and other personal effects. Pa had good clothes, comfortable beds, many papers, and a very wide correspondence. Educated people he had met at Alexander and Asheville wrote to him from distant places. Oh, if we could have all that stuff, we'd get it organized and scanned. Pa had left a will writ some years before, giving to Carl everything in return for his keeping Pa and Ma in their declining years. But the farm had meantime been deeded entire to Carl and his wife. She is really a godsend on this earth, always administering and helping like an angel. As a lawyer that's seen how families handle such news, those are very gracious words. So Carl took the cash money up to Weaverville and paid every dollar in advance so that nobody could be disappointed. I helped out in some very important matters and was glad I could be there to do it. I left at 5 a.m. Monday and drove to the cemetery. As I paused on the way to West Virginia, the flowers banked on the grave were still fresh as we had a not something rain during the night. Get off of there. Okay. And the last sight I had of the place was the bank of flowers on Pa's grave. How I must take over more than ever and help all the members of the family and the community. It is such a blessing to be born into a family of fine people. These boys and girls, my own as well as the others of our family, are proving their quality is good. Carl's children amaze me with their superior intelligence and firmness of character, far beyond what we see in the normal child. They have been taught to do a share of the work and to carry some responsibility as they go along from childhood up. Of course, you know Mother is with Glenna in Newport News and is more helpless than an infant. Dick has left PA to return to Newport News the day Pa did yesterday and could not return. Our next move is to see what the old church building is completely restored with a few repairs and painting to the condition it had been a short time back. The minister, Dr. H.B. Dandy, in his sermon, very brief and appropriate, paid tribute to Paul for having brought about repairs and maintained the church for the several years in a presentable and if not attractive condition. We will soon acquire an appropriate monument for the family. There are several of the very substantial type in the cemetery, not pretentious or expensive. I learned from Bob Hunter through a letter Wade had written that Uncle is quite ill, and I do not know how this letter will find you. I sincerely hope better. It is impossible to something offhand all the interesting details I would like to give you as I bring this to a close and wish I might hear from you how you both are and if you are well cared for now. Lola and our two children, John, Burton, and Catherine, who are here, and our little angel of a granddaughter, Karen. sending you love and good wishes. Sincerely